Good morning. My name is Shai Pilnik. I am the director of the Emil and Jenny Fish Holocaust and Genocide Studies Center at Yeshiva University. I wanted to welcome you to Holocaust Remembrance Around the World. Holocaust Remembrance Around the World is a series. We will have 12 episodes showing once a month on the very last Sunday of the month, where we converse with guests from all over the world, with the people whose work shapes and reshapes Holocaust memory and education, placing the past in a current, relevant, and local context. Today we have very special guests, and we have a very special country that we will be featuring, the country of Chile. We are hosting, and I would like to say hello now, first to poet, professor of Latin American literature at Wellesley College, human rights activist and novelist Marjorie Agosin. Welcome to our program, Marjorie.
Thank you, Shai. A pleasure.
And photographer Samuel Shats, who is joining us from Santiago de Chile.
Hi.
Boker Tov, Samuel. Good morning. I wanted to ask you, when we think about the Holocaust, your country is not normally the first one to leap to mind, Chile. A small country of 18 million people with a small Jewish community. I first wanted to see how the country and how you connect to the story of the Holocaust. Marjorie, you've been far away from Chile for decades. You've been teaching at Wellesley College for 30 years, but you are a well-known cultural figure in your country. You are part of the Chilean diaspora. Samuel, you actually are in the Jewish diaspora now, although you have not been for 20 years when you lived in Israel, but now you're back in Chile. So tell me a little bit about your connection to Chile, about the country and its connection to the Holocaust.
Okay, Shai, thank you very much. I will start with Chile. Chile is a small country of immigrants. We are about 18 million people. In the last years, we have received about 1 million immigrants from Latin America, because Chile is relatively an economic and political stable country in Latin America. Now we are at a great crossroads, because many social and political variables are shifting. I believe that this is because we are thinking that we are close to reaching development, and this generates a great expectation in people. But there is a lot of social unrest lately. I think that because part of the Chileans lives a dream reality.
What does that mean?
It's like being in Europe. Some neighborhoods in Chile that are very small in quantity will live like in Europe, Miami, a very beautiful life. But the great mass of Chileans are left far behind. So there is a malaise that it's also used by political groups, the small and the left, that are in constant struggle to add to this malaise. And the political struggle here is not very sophisticated. We are in the left and the right. They used arguments that were used in the 60s. It hasn't changed a lot. In the past, Chile was also a country that received immigration, mainly from Europe, Arabs and Jews. The people in Chile think that the Jewish population is larger than it actually is. I think that this is because they believe that the Jews, because of the power, the relative powers they think the Jews have. But it's hard to imagine, but we are only about 18,000 people. It's nothing, 0.1% of the population. The Jews, now about the Jews. Most of them are non-religious, and most of them don't belong to any institution. Only 5,000 are active ones. Among the active ones, I think that the main group is the Masorti movement, that is a conservative Judaism whose rabbis came mainly from Buenos Aires. I would dare to say that in Chile there is almost no anti-Semitism in an institutional level. There is not an organized anti-Semitism, but exists. I would say that mostly based on ancient prejudice. Chile was open to Jewish immigration from 1938 to 1941. Before that was partially open, and from 1941 to 1945, it was closed. As a consequence of that, 30,000 Jews managed to escape the Holocaust and arrive in Chile.
Your family, from what I understand, is not a part of that group, but Marjorie is. If Marjorie has anything to add.
Well, I share the commentaries that Samuel has made, and how we are a tiny minority of a community, but I would like to say that it's a very committed community with cemeteries, Hebrew schools, different synagogues. But I like to say that my family was part of that group of the 30,000 people that emigrated to Chile during the Holocaust, and my great-grandmother arrived to Chile in 1939. She left Hamburg. She left Vienna in 1938 towards Hamburg and boarded. I just found out through a notebook that my grandfather gave me, and I never read it so carefully. My great-grandmother sailed from Hamburg to Valparaiso in a Chilean freight cargo boat called the Copiapó, and that was the last ship that left Hamburg. And she and her son arrived to Valparaiso and arrived to safety. And this is why, for me, even though I have lived decades outside of Chile, Chile is very, very important in my life. It has a lot of meaning in my heart and in my writing, because it allowed my family to find a homeland. And that is something I will be grateful forever.
And it's something that a lot of countries following the Evian conference were not willing to do. So Chile here belongs to a small number of countries who actually provided Jews with a safe haven after Kristallnacht in 1938. Samuel, you don't have a personal connection to the Holocaust, but your art, and we will talk about two projects in a moment, and you'll show us some photos, is deeply connected to the Holocaust. So what brought you to work on the subject?
Yes, my parents actually arrived from Europe to Latin America before World War II, before the Nazism. Well, I studied in the Hebrew school and then lived in Israel for 20 years. The Shoah was always present in my mind, and year after year, I would say Shoah Day after Shoah Day in Israel, that in Israel in those times, there was only one channel in the TV, and it broadcast all the day about the Shoah, all the Nazi propaganda, the interviews, the films, and I saw everything. The issue was each year more in my mind in trying to understand how it was possible that the the country, but not only this country, all the countries of Europe, people became animals. I was trying to understand that all the time. That was my initial motivation. I would say that sadly, I now understand more. And that's why I'm concerned, because I understand that this is the human being can become an animal in certain circumstances. So we have to work on tolerance, on education, and that's what really motivates me. After that, with my projects, I began to know survivors in a more deep level, and I also get involved more emotionally to the theme.
So let's see your emotional involvement in a moment. I just wanted to say to the two of you and to our viewers that I found out we are live now, thank God. And we actually viewed by audience who joined us on Facebook Live. The conversation began and was recorded before we went live. So after this conversation, we will upload the entire talk, and more people hopefully will be able to watch it. So Samuel, you talk about you referred before to what human beings can do to each other. Holocaust is a very dark subject, but I find a positive perspective if you look at it through the lens of Chile. We talked about a safe haven, providing people with refuge, accepting refugees, and also the lives that Holocaust survivors lived in Chile. So towards the end of their lives, you come up with a photographic project called On the Threshold of Oblivion. And you document through photography the lives of survivors as they're aging and as they are about to pass from this world to another one. Tell us a little bit about the project. I also know that you have some photos you wanted to share with us.
Exactly. This is a project of portraits of Holocaust survivors that, as you said, are facing their last years of life. It was very difficult for me to decide what and how to photograph the survivors. I didn't want to base my work only on the horrors or do works similar to those that had been done before. I wanted it to be subtle, to reflect in some way the weight of each story, but also to show the pride of what they had achieved in life and the certainty of natural death and closeness. Each case had its differences and nuances. It was essential for me to have watched and heard their testimonies that were previously recorded several times. In many cases, I knew in advance how to start photographing them. In others, despite watching the videos, I had to visit them several times until I felt the photograph was achieved. The personal stories of each one of the survivors are for me admirable. Magnificent stories of resilience, strength, and perseverance. But I would say that in my eyes, the most admirable and difficult aspect to understand is how they could regain trust and faith in humanity. Speaking about the project itself, to my surprise, during the portraits project, some of the survivors that refused to talk during all their lives decided to open their hearts and homes to me and my camera. I believe that age and the proximity of death were determinants. This project was the final push they needed, the bridge in a now or never situation. As Marco Antonio de la Parra, a Chilean writer and psychiatrist, wrote in these portraits, we can see traces of the inferno coexisting with the sweetness. That's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for a positive message with the horror together. Today, 75 years after the end of Second World War, the photographs also provide a tribute to Chile as a place that welcomes, integrates, and opens its doors to migrants. In some way, this work is a call for tolerance, respect, and acceptance of cultural diversity that enriches our world. Let us speak about the pictures a little. This is Salomon Cohen from Yugoslavia. He was a fighter, a partisan fighter in the mountains. Hard life, that's why the illumination is so rude. Rudy Heimann, born in Germany, and he was part of the Jewish brigade of Britain. A hero, proud of being part of the history. That's Alicia Hochmann, also from Germany, with a very positive approach to life. That's why I photographed her in this golden environment. This is David Feuerstein, a benefactor of Yad Vashem, a fighter for the Holocaust remembrance, who meet important people of the world. Eva Bloch from Berlin. Kurt Herdan, a painter who was forced to work forced labor, and he lived in a place without windows. He painted windows all his life. That's why in the picture are windows everywhere, including this object that he has in front of his face.
Samuel, I'm curious.
Yes.
Would the photography from an artist perspective look different if they were 20 or 30 years younger? In other words, how do we really shine light on the fact that they are approaching the end of their lives?
I believe that it's different. Well, I explain now that there is a different disposition of the people to enter, to open themselves. 20 years before, most of them wouldn't be ready to accept the photographs and to open themselves. So
you see more pride, you see that they approach their past with more pride than they used to 20 or 30 years ago? Okay, very similar to...
I think that pride is one of the key words here. At the end of their life, they see backwards and they look all they have accomplished, mainly in the family issue, that to build a family, to have descendants, they have to be proud. And I think that I saw that. I believe that I managed to transmit this to the photographs. In 20 years before, they it's in a different stage of life. There were still maybe fighting for a living, for accomplishing things. Now it's more and more in a more reflexive point of their life.
Looking back, the theme of pride is also connected to your next project. And I have to say that the experience of Holocaust survivors, unfortunately, is not linked to pride. That's not the first word that comes to our mind when we think about the experience of survivors. But you link pride of Holocaust survivors to pride of people living in a tough neighborhood called La Victoria. Tell us a little bit about this project, and you have some photos to show us.
La Victoria, it's a collective work. I work with another 4 photographers, Lincoln Parada, Oliver Hartley, Arthur Koning, and Teodoro Schmidt. We work together in this project. La Victoria, this project is really also a portrait, but a portrait of a neighborhood. La Victoria is a dangerous place, a stigmatized place with drug dealers and occasional deaths on the streets. But it is also a place where part of Chilean society is very proud of it, because it is considered an heroic symbol, because it was one of the first successful neighborhoods, successful land reclaiming in Chile. And also it was one of the most important places where the opposition to Pinochet took place. But for me and for the other photographers, the interest to meet this strange for us world was greater than the fear. The first months we worked all together because we were afraid. It took about 5 months to advance, to take each one its own way in the neighborhood and to interact with the people. But we entered a hidden micro world, because this is a micro world in Santiago. We found a small town inserted in the middle of the city. We discovered that in the scene of La Victoria, during the day, not during the night, lived ordinary people who flooded the streets during the day. People with strong values that collaborate with each other, that each one, it's like a kibbutz in a sense. They are, most of them still poor, but they are proud. Even though most of them, I'm talking about the founders and their families. Most of them, even though they will be tomorrow rich, I believe they won't leave the neighborhood. They opened us our house, our homes, warmly. This does not happen in my neighborhood. It's impossible. So we were very satisfied with the work done, and what we did, we built bridges, because we took this exhibition to a lot of places, but the first one was the Museo Nacional de Bellas Artes, that is the mecca of the culture in Chile, and bring these people, this neighborhood, to the center of the culture in Chile. And we received the prize from the president, that is right, and we were, and the inauguration was the mayor of the town that is communist. So I believe that we build bridges for tolerance, and that is common to the previous work I showed, and also we see the pride, the same pride that we saw in the Holocaust. That's the 2 points of contact.
Thank you. Well, Marjorie, I know this is not your project, but here I see a link between Holocaust survivors and people living in a tough neighborhood with an overarching theme of pride. Do you have anything you may want to add about Chilean pride, the Jewish community sense of pride?
Well, I would like to, every time I see Samuel's work and the Treasure of Oblivion, I'm very moved by it. And I would like to say that throughout history, society, civilization has always lived in between two worlds, the darkness and the light. And I would like to use the word the homecoming, the arrival towards something that we call hope, that we call light, that we can call community. But I like to comment that the similarities between the community of La Victoria and the Holocaust survivors that Samuel photographs is the will to live. I think that not everyone has a will to live.
Mm-hmm.
Depression takes away the will to live. These people believed in life above all, even though their lives were completely dehumanized. So I have also been to La Victoria, and like Samuel says, these people that have very little will share a banana with you and cut it in several pieces. They have a heart, they have affection. There is warmth. And I like to say that from I've lived here most of my life, but I find warmth in Chile and solidarity. Not that I don't find it here in America, but it is different. And I think that the survivors of La Victoria and the survivors of the Shoah are intertwined in the commitment to life itself. And I also think that Samuel captured them, captured their face, their lights, their expression at the right time, because I am, as a writer, I am a believer that each story must be told at the precise time when it's ripe, when it's ready to enter the wider world. And I think that is the beauty of Samuel's work, that it just happened when it had to happen.
It is a beautiful work indeed. Samuel, thank you for the photos. The photos really put the story of survivors and indirectly the story of the Holocaust in a very local context. But your work is actually featuring a universal icon of the Holocaust in the image of Anne Frank. You wrote a book about Anne Frank, retelling her story with illustrations that were created by a Chilean illustrator. You have to remind me of his name, Marjorie.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about this project, and Odaya will also share with us pictures, images from the book.
So I like to thank Francisca Yanez, a wonderful Chilean illustrator that is having a notoriety in the world. She herself went into exile to Germany and then to Costa Rica when she was about 4 years old. She understands this idea of displacement and diaspora. So even without me telling her about what I wanted to do in this book, she knew. I like to say that you may have a very precise idea, an articulation, a narrative about what you want to write about and present to people, but then things happen. The world of your characters takes over. But I've always been um, intrigued and in a certain companionship with Anne Frank itself, because I believe she was an amazing writer. She captured humanity, she captured the spirit of her family, the struggle with her mother.
Is she well known in Chile?
No, she's not well known in Chile, and the diary is not required to be read like it is in America or many parts of the world. And I'm glad you asked me this, Shai, because this is precisely why I wanted to write a book for Chilean children, for Chilean school
It's a
children,
children's book, yeah.
so they would know Anne Frank. And it's very difficult to measure success, but I do believe that a lot of people are reading this book in their classes, and people always see the bad things in everything, and I see the good. So I'm glad that and Anne Frank saw the good. But this book is bought by the Ministry of Education. All libraries in the country have bought this book, even in remote places like the island of Chiloé. So I'm very happy that kids identify with Anne Frank. And I visited some schools in Chile after this book was published, and they wrote, I'm very moved, they wrote letters to Anne Frank, cartas a Ana Frank en el cielo, letters to Anne Frank in heaven. So I think it worked because her story has a universal appeal to all children in Lithuania, in the Ukraine, in the Netherlands, in Chile. And that's what I wanted to achieve. Not that the Holocaust is equal to other Holocausts, but there are so many commonalities of young people that have gone through the darkness and have survived, because Anne Frank is dead, but she is alive. And that's the tension that I wanted to create.
Let's see another photo from the book. Modaya, if you can share with us. Yeah, do you want to say something about the
Yeah,
style,
she
the illustration?
created, she recreated, the book is reimagining Anne Frank. Of course, it's taken from her own life, but I also
Beautiful.
use the imagination, and Francisca, really, that's her work. She imagined the food, the place, the dinner table. She also imagined Anne Frank embroidering, because to write is to weave a story, and this is the ultimate picture of a traveling suitcase that all immigrants share. And she's
Wow, that's
going
so
there with
powerful.
Margot, with her sister Margot.
That's so powerful. Um, Thank you, Marjorie. As we come to, here's another image. As we come to the, slowly, we're coming to the end of our conversation. I wanted to now move to the highlight of our work today. Highlight because this is actually a co-production of the two of you, called Braided Memories, which is a multimedia audiovisual project that features you, Marjorie, reading your poetry. We will actually hear you reading it in English, but this is a translation from the Spanish with images and with photography done by Samuel. So, Samuel, are you ready to project it?
Yes,
Okay, so
I'm
let's
sure.
now watch first 5 minutes from Braided Memories and then talk about it a little bit. And the Braided Memories present the story of the memories, Marjorie, of your great grandmother, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
You're seeing it?
Yes.
Yes.
Your voice, light and dark. I hear its sound in wakeful hours when dreams are at rest. I hear it in terror-filled nights, your clairvoyant voice that calls. What was your voice like as you descended the stairs in Vienna? How did your footsteps and your voice sound? What words did you utter? Did they glide through your throats filled with blue smoke? During your journey, did you safeguard your words like a magic box, filled with wondrous stories, shielded by the symphony of the sea? Nobody appears to have heard you. You came and you went like a wayward angel, your voice like the sound of footprints on silken sands, your voice like birdsong after the rain. I do not remember hearing your voice, only the sensation of your hands on mine in the just country. In a country where memories are frail, your voice like a dream in the middle of the forest, your voice that comes alight and fades away like secrets, like something only revealed in the depths of silence. It is always night, night that imprisons you, night which is memories of broken glass, night when women with shaved heads hover. It is nighttime when they arrive, pound on the door, knock over mirrors. They have come to find you. They cut your hair. All you can do is look at them. You do not recognize in these men the eyes of assassins. You do not believe such cruelty exists. At night, I see you sleepwalking, a forlorn angel, always at night, terrified and alone, the long night, the dark night of the soul, the night that fails to hear. The footsteps of men with faces like hyenas, the footsteps of vultures, the footsteps that come looking for us, the footsteps that come to rob us of life, the footsteps of the Nazis, the thieves of lives, the thieves of art, the footsteps. I want to leave the city of yours that banished you, that robbed your garden of poppies and stole your smile.
This is very moving. Well, I'm just curious, maybe Marjorie can begin by telling us a little bit about the background to this project. That I first of all wanted to ask about the narration. So we hear your voice, Marjorie, but who is the speaker?
You mean who is the speaker? Who is the
Who is the voice? Who? Memory.
the voice is myself.
Mhm.
It's Marjorie Agosin, and it's the voice of a poet. I wanted to do a reverse journey. I was so aware that Helena arrived from Europe, from Hamburg to Valparaiso, and then I wanted to do the reverse journey. I wanted to go to Vienna and see what it was like, what was her home like, the pictures with the stairways, her original apartment. I wanted to recreate her existence, her beautiful life in Vienna before her escape during Kristallnacht, the night of Kristallnacht. This project, I think that for many artists, has been with me for maybe 20 years. First, it began with a collection of poems about Elena, the angel of memory. Then it became Among the Angels of Memory. Then it became a musical for a chamber music ensemble. And then it became Braided Memories, and we call it braided, of course, because It's like the hala is the connection between the past and the future, the present and the past, two voices, two generations. But it's an exploration of Elena's inner life and struggles together with my own. And it's really a dialogue with the dead. And it's a dialogue with her when she is dead. But I do believe you can talk to the dead.
So in a way, when we talk about memories here, memories are timeless. We don't exactly look at the past here, because once we bring up the memories, the dead people come back to life.
And,
Mhm.
and this is, as you said it beautifully, these memories are timeless, boundless. And this is, we are gathered here to remember the Shoah, people from all over the world, because uh, we don't want this story to disappear, because we we could only remember by honoring the people that are no longer with us. And this is the task of citizens, democracies. And I would like to say we are very fortunate to be artists, because we can bring that memory to the rest of us, to communities of people that read poetry or look at photographs.
And Samuel, this photographic project takes you to Vienna. What would you like to share with us about the experience? I saw some photos of a city, of a sea. I don't recall Vienna having any beach next to it, right?
No.
So tell us a little bit about where you were and about from a photographic standpoint, the creation of this project.
Well, when Marjorie invited me to join her in this project, I read the poems and said yes immediately. I was fascinated with the approach to the theme. It was hard to me it took me, I think, about a year thinking what to do with these poems, because it was very difficult to relate the photographs to the poems, because the poems, as you said, travel from past to present to future, to Marjorie, to Elena. And I wanted to create photographs that will not compete with the metaphor of the poems. So, and in some cases, it was good to provide some information, like the stair, the stair where Helena ran away, and it was difficult to find the point, and I believe we found something that it's okay. We create in a capsule, let us say, poem photograph that together we enhance, we expand the aesthetical experience of the reader, talking about the book, but we don't limit it. That's the main idea. I took photographs everywhere. I was in Vienna, I was in Prague, I was in the Chilean coast, and was in Santiago. We were in Helena's house with Marjorie, photographing. It was quite an experience, a long experience, and we are now just starting with the book. The exhibitions, the expositions were moved because of the pandemic, but we will start in 2022, and that's it.
Okay, I would like to encourage our audience. I know that we have a few people who joined us live to text us your questions to Marjorie, Samuel, or to both of you. In the meantime, I wanted to encourage everyone who would like to learn more about the Fish Center for Holocaust and Genocide Study to go to www.yu.edu/fish center. The Emil and Jenny Fish Holocaust and Genocide Study Center at Yeshiva University is going to launch officially its master's degree in Holocaust and Genocide Studies and a certificate for teachers. We're already offering courses. If you would like to inquire about these, you actually see in this newsfeed my email address, shai.pilnik@yu.edu. I also wanted to thank Dr. Dalia Wasner from Brandeis University, who introduced us to each other. Marjorie, whom would you like to give credit to
Yes,
for this project?
thank you, Shai. I would like to give credit to our editors for Braided Memories. It's Solis Press from the United Kingdom, and they generously published this book with the photographs, and you can find reviews and information at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, or all the list of usual suspects. But I want to thank Robert Gray and Leslie Gray for the beautiful edition.
Wonderful. Odaya, do we have any questions coming up?
Not right now, but a number of people have reached out to say congratulations to Marjorie.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this was all beginnings are not easy. I know that we had some technological challenges, but it's so wonderful in this virtual space to be together with the two of you. And I look forward to continue to work with the two of you and collaborate on your artistic projects. Is the photography project on Holocaust survivors going to travel? Has it been traveling, Samuel?
Yes,
I also
it has been exposed. Well, we have a book, but the exhibitions started in Buenos Aires in a big festival called the Festival of Light, and then was exposed in the AMIA Hall of Art. Then in Santiago was exposed in a big cultural center called GAM, and in the Chilean Congress. And lately it was in Wesley College, in Ursuline College.
Yes.
And we have worked also with, we had a lot of Zoom meetings related to this work. And they will continue traveling, of course.
Samuel Shats and Marjorie Agosin, I would like to commend you for your work, to thank you for joining us for this conversation. This was the first episode of Holocaust Remembrance around the world. I also wanted to thank Odaya Blau, our coordinator, for helping us to pull off this production. Our next meeting is going to be on February 28th. We will be meeting here on Sunday at 10 a.m. On the last Sunday of every month.
Our primary mission at the Fish Center at Yeshiva University is bestowing a master's degree for students interested in Holocaust and genocide studies. We have a short video clip about that now.
If there's truth to the saying that history repeats itself, then Holocaust remembrance and the study of genocide is not only a vital part of history, but also a crucial warning for the future.
Confronting Holocaust deniers and distorters is one of the most important tasks of our generation.
The Fish Center at Yeshiva University was founded with this mission of preserving the history of the Holocaust as well as more recent genocides. Our master's program offers a unique investigation of the Holocaust of European Jewry with an interdisciplinary approach through the lenses of law, social work, history, theology, education, literature, and political science. If this sounds like a path you would like to pursue, apply now or learn more. I'd like to extend an invitation for you to join us and become a member of our growing community of scholars and educators.
Thank you to all of our community partners, the Holocaust and Human Rights Center in White Plains, New York, the Center for Holocaust Education in the East Valley JCC in Arizona, 3GNY, the Florida Holocaust Museum, the Rabbi Arthur Schneier Program for International Affairs at Yeshiva University, Shadowlight in Canada, Manhattan College, the Sosua 75 in the Dominican Republic, the Holocaust Memorial and Museum in San Antonio, Texas, Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Studies Center in South Africa, 2 different programs at the University of Miami, the Holocaust and Education Center in Fukuyama, Japan, the Illinois Holocaust Museum in Skokie, the Sister Rose Thiering Fund in Education for Jewish and Christian Studies, the Lake District Holocaust Project in the UK, Jewish Gen, and the Maltz Museum in Cleveland, Ohio.
I would like to again say thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we conclude our program about, maybe I will ask you about the future of the Holocaust memory in Chile. What would it look like when Holocaust survivors are gone in about 10 or 20 years? Is it taking root in Chile as much as it is in countries like other countries on this part of the globe, in this hemisphere, like Canada, like the United States? Marjorie?
Well, as you know, as all of us know, after 76 years, after the liberation of Auschwitz, anti-Semitism it's fine. It's here. I mean, fine in the sense it's here to stay. We've seen it in the U.S. Americans are very incredulous about their own history. They always say it couldn't happen here, but white supremacy is very much tied to anti-Semitism. And soon almost all survivors will be gone. And we are the post-memory to tell their story. But I would like to add that it's very important that not only the Jews tell the story. This is the problem of the world. The 20th century saw a fracture of humanity, a fracture of language. And I would like to ask all of us to join us in remembering crimes against humanity. The Shoah, Rwanda, Cambodia, Bosnia, each with its particular exceptional history. But this, I like to ask all of us to really believe that never again this should happen to any other human being and no other society.
Thank you. On this, we will conclude. Thank you, Marjorie Agosin and Samuel Shats. Please stay with me in the Zoom room, and we will now conclude our live program, and hopefully we will see you in about a month for another episode of Holocaust Remembrance Around the World.